Hello, everyone. This is Cassandra Williamson, Executive Director for Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, TDVA Action Group. And I just want to make sure we have this disclaimer out there. All the opinions expressed here are solely mine. They do not necessarily represent those of any particular organization, agency, government, branch, department, whatever, or group of people. These are my opinions and my opinions alone. Okay. And if you're under the age of 18, you need to leave this show. This is not for you. All right. So let's jump right into what we want to do. This is the fourth episode now. We're going to be talking about continuing our conversation about Project 2025. And we're looking at each chapter in each section. We're in section 2 right now, and we're getting ready to look into chapters 7 and 9. We're not including 8 in that because there's very little or nothing in there that actually represents any of the topics that we're looking for and the words that we're looking for, by doing like a systematic word check and looking through that, just exploring it. So 7 and 9 are the places we'll start. I've already highlighted some sections over there, so let's just jump right over to go ahead and get that started. Here we go. Da-da-da-da. Share screen. Let's go to window, and I'm looking for this. Okay, first thing I want to go do is take a look. Now, this is from Project 2025. It's copyright as 2023 by the Heritage Foundation. Okay, this is a presidential transition project, a mandate for leadership. And this is the image that I put on the front. I've got out on the front of certain things with a big no symbol over it. You can learn a lot about just by going to this website. This is project2025.org. Go check it out sometime. Go check out the policy itself, the personnel, the training, the playbook about, and all this kind of stuff. Just get familiar with this site, because these people are out to erase minorities in the country. Erase them and delete them from the whole of the federal and state enterprise, all of it. They want to remove it all. And this stuff is no longer the topic or the platform of a limited small government group of people or anything like that. Keeping out of families' affairs, keeping out of individual rights and all that kind of stuff. No. This is a fascism. Exactly what it is. It's also theocratic, authoritarian, Christian nationalist fascism. Okay. And you can find references for that all the way through this. If you need to know what fascism is all about, go look up Lawrence Britt. Check it out. Lawrence Britt wrote something in 2003 that had 14 characteristics of fascism. Every single one of them are met in this document. Mandate for Leadership Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation. And you can get a real good sense of what it's all about just by reading a couple of paragraphs on their website. And then you can go click on the link to download the whole document if you want, or click down through here and download one section of it at a time. So what we've done is we're now into section 2, and we've already covered the first sections. We've covered the foreword by Dr. Roberts, Kevin Roberts, who happens to be the president of Heritage Foundation. We've covered that section already. He really goes after and tells you that he wants to delete all these words: sexual orientation, gender identity, gender everything, abortion, whatever, any word like that he doesn't like. Diversity, equity, inclusion, that kind of makes them feel wheezy or something, and they just kind of get all flustered about it. Really? Yes, they want to remove them all. The idea behind it is it's a theory that's called colorblindness theory. And colorblindness is just, oh my God, it's well, look, colorblindness does this. I'm going to go back and share one other thing really quickly before I jump into this, because you need to see it. You need to see what this is really all about. This whole document is an attempt to rein in the government's vision or any references to any minority populations in the country. It's going to impact every single American in this country, folks. Believe it or not, that's exactly what this is all about. So let me go over here and put this up. And so this is something that I read this just moments ago, actually. It's from the Roosevelt Institute, and this is talking about colorblindness. It says, judges must interpret the Constitution not as a document that ignores oppression, which is what colorblindness does, or minority blindness, which I'm changing it to minority blindness, as an instrument that protects the right, but as an instrument that protects the rights of all Americans. That this article, this little blog post, was made in 2021. Shiraz Shams of the Roosevelt Institute. Okay, so that's what colorblindness attempts to do, and that's what you find all throughout this document is efforts by the Heritage Foundation, by the conservatives over there on the far deep right, they're all up in arms over the fact that there's mentions of, sexual orientation and gender identity and, LGBT people and African Americans and, Polynesian island people and, all of these things, all these different groups of people that experience different types and different levels of kind of oppression or kind of discrimination that does impact their health. All those things, they're there, folks. They're there. And that's what they want to just kind of cover it up. Colorblindness gives them the ability to not see the oppression, to deliberately not see the oppression. And when Dr. Roberts says he wants to delete terms, he's talking about everything from grants that would do the research for trying to determine what the social determinants of health are and the impact of those determinants on the well-being and thriving and health and wellness, basically, of minority populations. If you delete all that stuff, you can't research it. You're no longer allowed to even use those terms in any kind of research thing. It maintains this level of color blindness, but at the same time, what it does, it hides the oppression or the discrimination or the impact of those things on those minority populations. You can't do that. It just does not work. It's just a way of pretending that you don't have, that you don't see race or that you don't see minorities. And that's what this whole thing is doing. And it's an attack. It's trying to push out there. And I read something that Christopher Rufo put out recently that also said the same thing. He wants to restore this as a value of America, the color blindness. Really? Because then you can't see the impact of what that discrimination is doing on those communities because you ignore it and you deliberately ignore it. It's just an open door for discrimination because, nobody can see it. Jeez, come on. Anyway, so let me go over here and go back to presenting again. Share the screen. I got to go back and do this because I never even got into what I want to talk about, really. Okay, so we're looking at the table of contents again from the website, project2025.org. Go check this thing out, read it, study it, make it something that you are intimately familiar with, because that's the only way we're going to be able to create a movement that gets things done, that puts people out in the front. This is not about a political thing. This is a movement thing, folks. And I'll have more to say about that in a little bit because I'm doing some digging into it. The problem is that we don't have movement leaders anymore. We've got politicians and people out there who are more interested in policy. But the thing that moves the world is this. Let me go back. I got to go back and do one more. Share from the other side. Let me get the branding up here. We need movement people. Data doesn't move people, emotions do. And, that's been said in hundreds and hundreds of different ways, but Jen Psaki was right about that. Data doesn't move the people. In other words, you need a movement based on driving them, getting the people out there and having the intensity to say that enough is enough. We've got to stop this. Got to stand up against heritage. We got to march in front of their building. We got to go there and stand and just say, look, we're not going anywhere. We're veterans and you're ignoring us. Kevin Roberts. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to have to do. Get away from dealing with all this data and movement and all the policies and stuff like that. I mean, we got to have that too, no doubt about it. But right now in this season, we have got to motivate our people to get out there and get moving for this. We need to be standing in front of every one of these far-right conservative organizations' headquarters and being there so that they know we're here, because they don't want to see us. And that's what we have to do. We've got to get out there and get moving in this stuff, folks, because if we don't, we're going to sit back here and they're just going to run right over us with their movement. Phew. Okay. Geez. Okay, let me go back to present again. There we go. Share screen. Go back up to the window. Let's go back to here. Now we're going to dig into some of this policy stuff because I want you to see just how horrible it is. Now, yes, I know that there's a lot of other things going on, and I know that you can do this digging yourself, but I want to put this out here as something that we can actually show that says, hey, look, this is what they're doing. This is what they're trying to do here, folks. Okay, now let's just jump over to chapter 7. We're going to cover 2 chapters between now and the time we close out this session. The first one is 7. It's on the intelligence community. It's by Justin J. Carmack. And the next one is Chapter 9, Agency for International Development, USAID. We're not covering Chapter 8 because Chapter 8 doesn't have any of the terms that we are using for search terms, like woke, social, sex, gender, reproductive health, all those kind of things aren't there in Chapter 8. So we just jumped over and picked the ones out that do have those words. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking down through here. All I'm going to do is just scan down and show you some of the highlighted sections that I was able to locate. And here's one that talks about the color blindness right off the bat, okay? Finally, future intelligence community leadership must address the widely promoted woke culture that has spread throughout the federal government, with identity politics and social justice advocacy replacing such traditional American values as patriotism, colorblindness, and even workplace competence. All of that. We're patriotic Americans. We're not colorblind. We're not minority blind. I'm going to put it to minority blindness. And we're all competent. So, yeah, okay. Let's go on down. I'm going to go through here pretty quickly, I think. Oh, that's just social engineering. Whoops. Social engineering. What did I miss on that one? Distracting social engineering. The director should divert resources from any activity that promotes unnecessary and distracting social engineering. Okay. Well, sorry, folks, but people live in societies. All right. Anyway, let's go on down. Let's find another highlighted section. Social media. This is where I searched the term social at the top. It's still in there. So let's go on down. We're going to go searching for more terms and more paragraphs of what they want to do here with the intelligence community, folks. Here we go. Give me a second. We'll scroll down. Social media again. Yeah, you got to be quick on the uptake on that one. Let's see. Anything else in here that I highlighted? No. Nope. Okay. So that was it in Chapter 7, folks. That was one section. You can go in and find more yourself. Go dig around in there. That's what I did. And leave. And now we're going to go into Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is a little bit more intense. So I've already highlighted a bunch of sections, like I said. So we'll just go through here and find some of the highlighted sections. There are some pages, actually, that are highlighted. The whole darn thing. Refocusing gender equality on women, children, and families. Instead of protecting women's and children's unalienable human rights, which is an oxymoron because there is no such thing as unalienable human rights. We would love for there to be, but there aren't. They can be taken away at the drop of a hat. Just somebody over there has more power, they'll take away your rights. Certainly not unalienable there, is it? You may have them. They may be inert to you. They may be part of who you are, and you deserve them, but you may not have them because somebody in power has taken it away from you. And that's where you have to get up and get moving and start fighting back on this stuff, because if you don't, they're going to run over you, period. Okay. Children's unalienable human rights and propelling their ability to thrive in society. Past Democrat administrations have nearly erased what females are. Bullshit. My thought on that one summed up in 2 words. And what femininity is through gender policies and practices. Again, bullshit. For instance, these administrations have diluted USAID's focus on assisting vulnerable women, children, and families around the globe by adding protections for an ideological advocacy on behalf of progressive special interest groups. And what they're talking about is, transgender people, LGBT people, stuff like that. Yeah, right. We can't have that. No. USAID now aggressively promotes abortion on demand under the guise of sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, as it should. Gender equality and women's empowerment advocates for those who claim minority status or vulnerability. Okay. And what's the problem with that? Phew. All right. In blue, here's another one. And I don't have to read all these things. This one is talking about the family. Families are the basic unit of and foundation for a thriving society. And they have to remember their definition of family is Mr. Smith, Miss Smith, and or Mrs. Smith and Miss Smith. Okay. No single families, no single, a mom or a dad, a single mom or dad. There's no such thing as a unmarried family because they don't consider that a family. They don't consider the same gender or same sex couples as families. That's it. Without women, there are no children. Oh, wow. This is a statement, by the way, that attacks gays and lesbians, folks, and transgender people. This attacks LGBT people. It's one of those tropes that you see out there all the time. But what you have to remember is there are so few of us in the world statistically in the LGBTQ plus community, and it has had zero impact on population growth that we've been here. And many of us have got children, by the way. Chosen families even, or biological families. We've got those things. Yeah, we've contributed to that. And society cannot continue. Oh, that's dire, folks. That's really horribly bad right there. Jeez, really. As evidenced by the confirmation testimony of now Associate Justice Cassandra Brown Jackson, the progressive left has so misused and altered the definition of what a woman is that one of our U.S. Supreme Court justices was unable to delineate clearly the fundamental biological and sexual traits that define the group of which she is a part. She knows what the definitions of those things are, but she's also not blind to their trying to trap her into all kinds of crap out there that they want heard. That's just okay. USAID cannot advocate for and protect women when they have been erased. Oh, wait a minute. Now look. USAID cannot advocate for and protect women when they have been erased globally, along with the values and traditional structures that have supported them. You could put LGBT people in there, or you could put a racial minority population in there from any country in the world. And the erasure part, oh gosh, yes, they're absolutely trying to erase all those distinctions. This minority blindness, they're serious. If you don't believe it, read through this thing. Okay, the next conservative administration should rename the USAID Office of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment as the USAID Office of Women, Children, and Families. Their definitions of what those are. Refocus and realign resources that currently support programs in the GEWE to the office of the new one. And let me see, redesignate the senior gender coordinator as an unapologetically pro-life, politically appointed senior coordinator of the Office of Women, Children, and Families, and eliminate the more than 180 gender advisors and points of contact embedded in missions and operating units throughout the agency. In addition, the next conservative administration should rescind President Biden's 2022 gender policy and refocus it on women, children, and families, and revise the agency's regulation on integrating gender equality and female empowerment in the USAID program cycle. It should remove, listen to this now. This is minority blindness again. They think that's a valid thing and then just sweep it under the rug. Then, because if you can't see the oppression, you can't see the discrimination, you can't count it, and you can't study it, and you can't look at it, well, then it must not exist, right? That's what they want, folks. Minority blindness. That's it. It should remove all references, examples, definitions, photos, and language on USAID websites, in agency publications and policies, and in all agency contracts and grants that include the following terms: gender, gender equality, gender equity, gender diverse individuals, gender aware, gender sensitive, etc. It should also remove references to abortion, reproductive health, and sexual and reproductive rights and controversial sex education materials. They're wanting to remove all of it. to be completely blind to any of the oppression and discrimination occurring against any minority in the United States and around the world. That's why USAID provides support to those in need around the world. In the past, now this tells you a whole hell of a lot, okay? In the past, the word gender was a polite alternative to the word sex or term biological sex. No, that's true. That's actually a true statement. That's from the past. It actually was that. It was a polite word just to replace sex if you wanted to. You can use gender or sex, but gender was the one that didn't sound, I don't know, didn't challenge their beliefs and their Christian or religious views. You can't use that word sex. It's a hard thing to say for some in the far right over there in the ditch, the evangelical right side. Words like sex, oh no, you can't use that. But anyway, we now know after decades of study and research that gender and sex are two distinct things. And actually, there's three parts to it. All right. You want to know what they are? You've got anatomical sex, you've got your genetic sex, and then you've got your gender. And that gender can be expressed in any way, but you've got those three things make up who we are as people. Every single person on the planet has a genetic sex, an anatomical sex, and a gender. But, they don't want to hear all that because that just challenges their senses. I mean, it might give them the vapors or something. I don't know what it is. Oh, shoot. The left has commandeered. I'm going to take that out of there because it's too hard to see. All right. The left has commandeered the term gender, which used to mean either male or female, to include a spectrum of others who are seeking to alter biological and societal, social or sexual norms. The promotion of gender radicalism is anathema to the traditional norms of many societies where USAID works, causes resentment by tying life-saving assistance to rejecting the aid recipient's own firmly held fundamental values regarding sexuality, and produces unnecessary consternation and confusion among and even outright bias against men. Oh my God, you're feeling hurt. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Go cry? Yeah, well, no, they're taking this one to the bank, folks. This thing is real. The next administration should assure that USAID's goal and service of its mission is to help protect and propel all members of society. And these are the only members of society that actually count to them: women, children, and men, from conception to natural birth. Now, I tell you a whole hell of a lot in that one little thing right there. To do so, USAID's Office of Women, Children, and Families should strive to ensure that communities have their basic human needs, without which they would be unable to thrive, met first and foremost. Basic human needs include equal and safe access to potable water, sanitation, food, education, healthcare, houses of worship, justice, pregnancy and family resource centers, working capital, electricity, technology, and business opportunities. Okay. The Office of Women and Children and Families should implement the Geneva Consensus Declaration on Women's Health and Protection of the Family and prioritize partnerships with local organizations, including faith-based organizations. Keep your damn religion out of it. Going to say that again. Keep your religion out of it. Has no business being a consideration in any of this. Sorry if you disagree. It doesn't. Protecting life and foreign assistance. All right, protecting life should be among the core objectives of the United States, and they mean protecting life as in stopping abortions. Okay, there we go. Let's go on down. Let's find some more. The Biden administration restored abortion subsidies to pro-abortion NGOs, which is, a non-governmental organizations, NGOs, including Planned Parenthood International. And they throw that one out there because that's one of those red herring kind of things that they just throw it out there. And it's like that's the lightning strike. It riles up so many people when you say Planned Parenthood. And MSI reproductive choices. In reversing the PLGHA, Biden declared a radical assault on the policy of protecting life, choosing instead to promote abortion on demand around the world under the guise of sexual and reproductive health and rights, which is actually correct. Okay. I mean, that's what it is. It is sexual and reproductive health and rights. You don't get to tell a woman how to use their body, how to take care of their body. It's their body is theirs. Just like at the beginning of this show when I talked about the disclaimer part, the opinions expressed here are mine and mine alone. Well, my body is my body. Period. You have no business telling me how to live within my body. Okay. Sorry if that offends you, but you don't. USAID's priority for funding the global abortion industry negates programs that promote life, women's health, and the family. Their definitions of life, women's health, and the family. It completely obliterates any other understanding of what those terms actually do mean on a broad scale around the whole planet, folks. Oh, okay. Let's go on down. Let's see what else we got in here in the highlighted sections. Okay, here's one. All right, this is a term that I've known for quite some time. Actually, on academia.edu, it's one of those terms that I have tagged myself with because, localization is important. Localization is a buzzword within the aid community, but correctly assumes that more funding through local organizations produces better aid outcomes. And that is true. Shifting from giant U.S.-based implementers has proved difficult to achieve, however, given intense internal bureaucratic resistance, opposition from the aid industrial complex, and foot dragging from progressives. Not from us, who view local NGOs, especially faith-based NGOs prominent in Africa and Latin America, and why they're there? I think I said this earlier, but you know why these faith-based non-governmental organizations are so prominent in Africa and Latin America? Because our evangelicals send missionaries over there because they can't get what they want accomplished in the U.S., so they send them into Africa and Latin America and in Europe. Orban, not Orban, but Orban, Viktor Orban, Hungary, definitely fell for it. Definitely got swept up in American evangelical crap. As obstacles to promote abortion, gender radicalism, climate extremism, and other woke ideas. Well, I'll tell you right now, I am glad that I'm enlightened, aren't you? I see absolutely nothing wrong with allowing people to be who they are, to address issues of climate, to let women have the choice of how to decide the use and the proper health that they need for their bodies, because it's theirs, and my health as well, for me as a trans woman. And then any other woke ideas, well, to me, it's just enlightenment. What's the opposite of enlightenment? Okay. Let's scroll down and look for a few more highlighted sections, folks. Here we go. I know there's some down through here somewhere. This section's pretty big, so getting near the end of it. I think it's probably at the end where the next one's at. So hang on as I scroll through these sections looking for highlighted stuff. Here we go. The administration should appoint a senior accountable official. You know what another word for that is? Propaganda officer. That's they're political officers appointed by the political class running the country. All right. It's like on this, and back in the Soviet Union, back in those days, they had assigned a political operative to every military unit out there because they wanted to make sure that there were no dissenters within the ranks and that they could report whether or not the agency or the department or the ship or the submarine or the unit out in the field was actually doing what and saying what the dictator, Stalin, or whomever at that particular time, whomever it was at the Soviet Union, any of them, what they wanted to hear. So you would have the senior accountable official, which is another word for a political appointee or a political officer, to report on the agency's adherence to administration policy priorities. They borrowed that right out of the communist playbook, folks. That's exactly where it came from, including on protecting life and foreign assistance, critical race theory, climate change, gender and diversity and inclusion. It should also create a program to staff hard-to-fill positions overseas. Okay. Lord forbid, right? Lord forbid you talk about anything like race, systemic racism, climate, gender, diversity, inclusion, women's rights, reproductive health. Lord forbid you have any of your offices talk about any of that. So you got these senior accountable official, the SAO, the political operative or the political officer on board the ships or in the agencies. I could see this thing actually, somebody trying to appoint these onto one of our ships to make sure that, the captain of the boat is saying, they're just saying only what they want to hear from the administration, which is communism 101, folks. That's the very same as fascism, really. But yeah, finally, okay, conclusion. Here's the end of this one, okay, folks? Conclusion. However, now see, let's just start at the top. Conclusion. The next conservative administration will have a unique opportunity to realign U.S. foreign assistance with American national interest in the principles of good governance and more accurately reflect the U.S. taxpayers' unmatched charitable desire to help those in need. Unless, of course, they're gender minorities. It can build on a strong baseline of conservative reforms undertaken by the Trump administration. Woo, God. If that's your standard bearer, you've got a lot to learn, folks, to counter communist China's strategy of world domination. There's a whole talk on that. However, this will require that bold steps are taken on day one, insert in there Trump the dictator, to undo the gross misuse of foreign aid by the current administration and promote a radical ideology that is politically divisive at home and harms our global standing. It's only divisive at home because they're so butthurt about it, about recognizing and admitting that there are diverse populations in this country, and you can't just go minority blind and not see them, because then you excuse all kinds of bad behavior against them and their poor health outcomes and their lack of thriving in certain areas as a result if you're minority blind. Phew, okay. Stop sharing. Let's go back over to the other page. And, there's a lot of stuff going on within Project 2025 that you need to be aware of. And how you fight this stuff, there's a couple of things. One, we've got to start getting our eyes focused on being movement-oriented. More than just policy. I mean, we're attacking their policy because we want America to see how horrible this would be for every American in this country, except for a select few. I mean, like Christopher Rufo, Dr. Roberts, Matt Walsh, different ones who already agree with everything in that. And actually, they think it's not going far enough. So anyway, that's where we stand, folks. And we'll pick up in Section 3 tomorrow, Section 3 in Project 2025. We'll pick up there at noon. These will be recorded and shared where you can actually see them at a different point in time, wherever you want, whenever you need. So with that, call it a day. See you tomorrow.